Oh, look, you're disturbing the peace right now. That's what you're doing. And if you really want to go get to see your kids, you do anything possible to go see those kids.
September 9th, 2023. Orlando International Airport. A frustrated, angry, and desperate woman stands at the Southwest Airlines counter, demanding to be allowed on a flight she missed. What started as a simple airline dispute quickly escalated into something much bigger, something that ended with her in handcuffs.
Hello.
How you doing?
Is it
Can you get this book for this young lady's being denied boarding for her intoxicated and unruly?
Yeah.
And she doesn't want to hear it. She doesn't want to.
I'll talk to you in a minute. Let me talk to him first.
I offered her to rebook her, and
No,
she
you
said,
didn't.
I just said I'm going to talk to him first, and I'll talk to you.
Okay.
Relax.
Orlando police were called to the scene after airline employees reported a disruptive passenger at the ticket counter. According to staff, she had already missed her flight to Houston, and there were no options to rebook her that night. But instead of accepting the reality of the situation, she refused to back down.
Can you just calm her down?
I asked.
We got delayed because of Southwest last night.
Is there any flight that has two?
And he says because I'm a bitch, he will rebook me
said that.
tonight.
Stop lying. I never said that. Let's keep it up.
Then book me tonight.
There's no other flights. There's no flights.
She's not going. I'm sorry.
Is there 2 seats tomorrow?
No,
I gotta get to my kids.
You guys can take the business.
I gotta get to my kids.
There's a 2-seat tomorrow. Let's start from there.
I don't want to go tomorrow. I want to go tonight.
I've asked about 5 times.
I just asked you.
By the time officers stepped in, the situation was already heated. The woman, visibly upset, insisted she needed to get home to her kids. Her frustration boiled over as she accused the airline of unfair treatment. But Southwest employees made it clear, this wasn't about discrimination or bad service. She had missed her flight, and there was nothing they could do. Despite multiple warnings from officers to step aside and calm down, she continued to argue, refusing to leave the counter. Tension kept rising, and the officers had no choice but to intervene further. What should have been a simple conversation quickly turned into a standoff. At this point, airport authorities issued an official trespass warning, telling her she had to leave immediately. But she wasn't listening. She wasn't leaving. And that's when things took a turn. From frustration to outright defiance, her refusal to comply left officers with only one option: arrest. As they moved in to detain her, she pleaded, insisting she had done nothing wrong. But it was too late. She had ignored too many warnings, and now she was being escorted out of the airport in handcuffs. What started as a missed flight had now turned into a legal mess. And this entitled Karen learned the hard way. When the police tell you to leave, you leave. A missed flight would be maddening. For this woman, it was crazy bad the second time that day within hours she had faced being stranded. The weather had already caused her to be delayed the day before, when she was forced to alter her travel. This time around, though, she had just missed the last flight from Houston, and all remaining options were exhausted for getting her home that night. Southwest employees did what they could do. They explained that no further flights were available, but could offer to refund her. That, however, was not satisfactory for her. She was not just angry, she was furious. Her most recent breakdown was becoming a scene. Nearby fellow passengers watched as she remained at the counter, demanding a solution that simply could not be done by the airline. The tension intensified, and Southwest employees called in reinforcements. Minutes later, police arrived at the ticket counter. Orlando police found the woman still bickering with staff, now refusing to accept that she needed to make arrangements to get home all by herself. The officers pulled aside the airline employees and asked what had transpired. That's when they saw, from the airline's perspective, whether it was indeed just a case of a missed flight or if it was her conduct. Employees explained how she became disruptive, refusing to follow instructions and causing a disturbance at the counter. Even after they offered her a refund, but she refused to leave. Now it was no longer a customer service issue, but had transitioned into a security concern. Things got serious now with police involvement.
Get us home.
I will. I'll get
us home.
I will
Don't
get
touch me.
I will
Get us home.
I will get us home.
This is second.
My
This
job.
is the 48th. This is the 50th
My
hour.
job.
I've been away.
My
They're
job.
turn around.
My job.
Get it done.
My job. I will.
You're gonna get
You have
trespassed.
kids?
I will
You have
get it.
kids?
You're gonna get
I
You have
will take
kids?
care
You
of
got to
this.
find out.
You have kids?
Yes,
pushing my
I will,
patience.
honey. I will take
pushing
care
my
of
Push
this.
your
Okay, baby, I will take
This
care
way.
of this.
This-
I
Do
I
it!
will. I got it. I got it.
Do it!
I got it. Let's step over there and let's do it. Let's do it. We got this. We got this. We got
Do
this.
it!
Calmly approaching the woman, officers tried to de-escalate the confrontation, explaining their presence and asking for her cooperation. Instead of stepping back, she doubled down and insisted on being mistreated. She wasn't listening to the airline. She wasn't listening to the officers. And with every minute that passed, she was pushing herself closer to an arrest. Would she finally realize she was in over her head? Or was she about to make things even worse for herself?
I need to go home! This is the second fucking day!
We'll get there. We'll get there.
This is the second day! This is your life!
We'll get there.
Get us home!
I will.
At first, it seemed like she might calm down. But then emotions took over. The woman, now on the verge of tears, insisted she had to get home that night. She shouted about her kids, claiming she couldn't afford to stay in Orlando another day. But as her frustration boiled over, she made a serious accusation: discrimination. She loudly accused Southwest employees of treating her unfairly, claiming she was being singled out for reasons beyond just missing her flight. The airline staff, however, didn't back down. They firmly denied her claims, stating they were simply following standard procedures. The issue wasn't about discrimination, it was about her behavior. And at this point, she was making things worse for herself. That's when police stepped in again, trying to de-escalate the situation before it spiraled out of control. The officers remained patient. They asked her, again and again, to calm down. They explained the options available to her. She wasn't banned from flying altogether. She had been offered a refund. She just couldn't get on a flight that night. But none of that mattered to her. She wasn't listening. Instead, she kept arguing, her voice getting louder with every passing second. She refused to move away from the counter, insisting she had been wrong. By now, it was no longer just an argument with the airline. It had turned into a full-blown disruption inside a major airport. That's when authorities issued a final warning. They told her she was now trespassing. If she didn't leave, she would face serious consequences. But even with that clear warning, she still refused. She stood her ground, shouting, demanding answers she had already been given. Now the police had run out of options. She had ignored every chance to walk away peacefully. The question was, how far was she willing to push before she realized there was no way out?
Now?
Get
No.
off me,
Come with me.
please!
We're out.
I want to go home to the children!
I know you're out. We're out.
Off me!
We're out. Come on. I know you're upset. I know you're upset.
She's like, this girl is
Have been officially transferred from the Orlando International
You're right.
Airport.
I
That
would
means
like
that
to
listen,
officially
Do you put
file a
no,
restraining order on Mr. Jose.
The expiration date.
You're right.
1 year.
1 year?
Yes, 1 year.
Don't go back over there.
We can't go to this
Don't,
airport.
do not go
I
back
don't
over
have
there.
anything.
Go back over there. Listen to me. You're done. Now you gotta leave the airport. You have to leave the airport now. You've been trespassed. I'm asking you to leave the airport. If you don't leave, you're going to be subject to arrest.
At this point, there was no room for negotiation. The airline had made its decision. The police had given her chance after chance to walk away. But she wasn't listening. That's when airport officials took things a step further. They issued an official 1-year trespass order, banning her from the airport entirely. That meant she wasn't just being denied a flight, she was now legally prohibited from stepping foot in the terminal for an entire year. The police made it clear. She had to leave immediately. But instead of complying, she dug in her heels. She refused to accept what was happening. She demanded to be put on a flight, insisting she had to get home that night. She kept turning back to the airline staff, pleading for another chance, despite them already stating there were no available flights. The officers remained patient, but their tone grew firmer. They warned her, one last time, that if she didn't leave, she would be arrested. But she wouldn't back down. She kept arguing, insisting she wasn't leaving until she got what she wanted. Over and over, she repeated the same demand. She needed to see her kids. But by now, there was no turning back. The officers had no choice. She had ignored every warning and refused every opportunity to walk away. So with no other options left, they moved in. She was under arrest. Even as the cuffs came out, she resisted. She protested, shouted, and claimed she was being treated unfairly. But the time for arguing had passed. What started as a missed flight had now turned into a full-blown airport arrest. The question now? Would she face even more consequences beyond just missing her flight?
It's a reasoning. Why can't you step out of the
Because I have kids.
I understand that, but you're gonna get arrested. Is it worth it?
Let's stop.
Yes.
No, come here. Come here.
Yes.
Come here. No. Come
It's
here.
been 2
Come
days.
here.
I haven't been home with my
Please.
kids because of Southwest.
I'm sure somebody.
I'm just trying to go
We're gonna go to
home.
Mike and Colleen's right now.
How are you gonna go home?
They live in Fort Lauderdale.
I know we can't get to Houston tonight.
As the reality of her arrest set in, the defiance in her voice started to fade. The anger turned to desperation. She begged the officers not to take her into custody, her voice breaking. Over and over, she pleaded. She just wanted to get home to her kids. But at this point, there was nothing the officers could do. She had been given every opportunity to walk away, and she had refused them all. Now she was facing the consequences. Tears welled up as she kept repeating the same words. "I need to see my kids. Please." The officers remained professional, but they didn't back down. They reminded her that they had tried to help. They had explained the situation multiple times. They had given her the option to leave without facing charges. But she hadn't listened. They also made one thing clear. This wasn't the airline's fault. Southwest Airlines had every right to deny her boarding, especially after her behavior at the counter. They weren't obligated to put her on another flight, and the police had no authority to force them to do so. She wasn't being treated unfairly. She had put herself in this position. At this point, as she sat on the floor of the terminal in handcuffs, she started to reflect on how things had spiraled. She admitted she was emotional. Maybe, just maybe, she had overreacted. And then she let something slip.
He called me a f***ing bitch. Do you know that? He called me a f***ing high maintenance. He called me a high maintenance
You want to get home,
bitch.
right? You wanted to get home, right? Have you had anything to drink?
Earlier today on the beach at lunch at noon, we went to the Riki Tiki Tavern and then
She mentioned that she had one drink earlier, but she insisted. She wasn't drunk. She was just upset. Was alcohol a factor in her behavior? It's hard to say, but with tensions already high, even a little impairment could have made it harder for her to stay in control. Regardless, none of that changed the facts. She had ignored multiple warnings. She had refused to leave when ordered, and now she was facing real consequences. The only question left: would this arrest follow her beyond just this one bad night?
please let me go home to me. My kids.
That's not going to be the case tonight. Come on.
No, please. Please.
Man,
Please. Please let
I don't
me
want
go.
to force you in this car.
Please let
But
me
if
go.
you give me other no recourse, I will.
With no other options left, the officers made their final decision. She was officially under arrest. As they placed her in handcuffs and prepared to escort her out, she kept pleading, "Please, I just need to get home. I need to see my kids." But her words no longer carried the same defiance as before. Now they were filled with regret. The officers remained professional but firm. They reminded her that this didn't have to end this way. She had been given multiple chances to walk away. Instead, she had ignored every warning. She was escorted through the doors, losing strength as she lit her frustrations into a whisper, drowning the terminal with her fading volume of speech. Sounds of exasperation still lingered within her, yet she was also now glaringly aware that, really, she had taken things too far. With her removal, the situation at Orlando International Airport finally came to a close. But for her, the real consequences were just beginning. Now she would have to face the legal fallout of her actions. Would this be just a minor offense? Or was she looking at something more serious? That was up to the courts to decide. And that's how a simple missed flight turned into a full-blown arrest. Was this a case of frustration gone too far? Or did the airline and police handle it the right way? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates on stories just like this.